What's going on, guys? Mike Murdos Gamer Logic here, and the reason I'm doing this video is because I feel the need for my sanity so I don't have to answer and copy and paste 10,000 comments as I post these videos on the Retro USB AVS console as to why I picked up the system, why I'm doing the comparisons the way I am, and what video knowledge I have. Because I can already tell people are sending me messages and leaving comments and stuff like, oh, you're not testing it the right way. The true comparison would be getting a RGB modded NES and pitting that against the AVS and all this other stuff. And maybe you guys need a little bit more history on it and the reason I'm doing things the way I am. And maybe it'll help you realize that better. And maybe I just haven't explained it very well in my write-ups for these things in the video. So here's the reason why I got a Retro USB AVS and why I was so interested in the system. I happened to get a hold of a Framemeister earlier this year. A friend of mine actually donated it to the show, which is amazing. Now, I got the Framemeister. When I got it, the first place I hit was My Life in Gaming because they seem to be the big de facto source on YouTube as far as showing you how to harness the full power of the Framemeister. So I went there after I got my Framemeister, and I learned a ton about the RGB format signal. And so what did I do after that? Any console I had that had native RGB out, like the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, any of those systems, I opted to get an RGB cable for them. I got them from Japan. I got them from that awesome seller in Florida. And I was absolutely blown away with the results, especially the first system I plugged into my Framemeister with RGB was a Genesis. Holy crap, did that blow my mind how amazing it looked. I went even as far as getting a one-chip SNES so I could get the very best RGB signal possible without having to really open up the system and mod it. Because I'm not really someone who wants to mod my original hardware because I'd probably tear it to pieces most likely. Not good with the soldering iron, folks. So I've had one system RGB modded, and if you follow my videos you'll know that I had my Turbo Duo modded for RGB. Was it worth it? Absolutely. That's a system that I don't really see having a great hardware clone coming out with. Yeah, there's emulators and stuff, and there's probably going to be hardware boxes that emulate the stuff, but not like the Retro USB AVS console does, where it is a hardware emulator, not a software emulator. So I have all these RGB systems. I have my Turbo Duo RGB modded. What am I going to do about my NES? Because if you use the Framemeister, you know that composite video signal, period, is pretty much garbage. It's a garbage video format, plain and simple. You plug that into the Framemeister, and some commenter left a really good example. It's like trying to polish a turd. It's a great example. So when you go from a RGB signal on your Genesis and Super Nintendo, and you switch to that composite video input on your NES, you go, oh my god, this looks pretty bad. And I gotta say, I have a different upscaler, and I think my other upscaler processes and upscales composite video better than the Framemeister even does. But it doesn't matter. I'm trying to keep a consistency thing going, right? So I start looking online to see how much it's going to cost me to get a RGB modded Famicom, Nintendo, HDMI, the audio options, all of this stuff. And I'm going, man, if I want to rip apart my original Famicom, because you gotta open up the back, you gotta put these jacks in and everything, it's gonna cost me anywhere from 50 to 130 bucks depending on what I want to do. And if I look on eBay or I go down on the internet, it's gonna cost me a couple $100, anywhere from 300 to 400 bucks it was looking like for me to get a NES or AV Famicom that was capable of doing RGB, and then I have to get the RGB cable and all that other stuff. So I thought about it, and I was like, I don't want to drop the money on this because the Retro USB AVS is right around the corner, and at $199 shipped, looked pretty awesome, especially watching the My Life in Gaming videos and the various videos that Retro USB did. It looked pretty impressive, and it looked way closer in performing than anything that is out there currently. And my experience with that so far is that's true. It performs great. It performs very well. It performs just as good as the NES. In terms of playing NES games, it kicks the living crap out of the Retron 5. The Retro Freak, I really didn't think much of that, and again, that's a software emulator running the games. It's not the same thing. So here's the deal. When I'm doing my comparison videos, I'm working with what I have. I'm not going out there and I'm not going to drop the money on a RGB modded Nintendo system for you guys to look at it, because one, it's expensive. Two, I would really have no need for it after picking it up because I have an AVS now. And three, my life in gaming already did that. I am working with what I got. And one of the big points that I am trying to put across to people, and that's why I'm making it clear here, is I've seen people go, I'm going to get a Framemeister. And they get the Framemeister and they think it's a magical box that if they plug in any video signal, composite included, that, oh my god, this is going to make my games beautiful. And will it? Yeah, to a degree. I mean, anything plugged into the Framemeister is going to look better than just plugging it into regular composite video on your LCD TV, right? It really is. It's going to look tons better. But some people don't even bother going past using the composite and the S-video jacks on their Framemeister. They don't even utilize the RGB port. And that's kind of my point. Don't waste the money on a Framemeister if you're looking to get NES high quality output, because you're not going to get it unless you mod your NES. And you're talking $300+ for the Framemeister, and however much more it's going to cost you to get your NES or Famicom modded or buy a new one outright. If you have the money, if that's the route you want to go, chances are you've already researched it. And that's the thing. If you have an RGB not modded Nintendo or Famicom at home and you're watching my videos and you're going, that's not the real test, you need to get... I get it. I really, really, really get it. But I don't have one. I'm working with what I have. And I'm trying to help people see the fact that if you want greatness out of the Framemeister, you got to do RGB. Just plugging it in composite isn't going to do it. And that's the major point. So you're going to see other videos out there. And yes, it's going to be composite through the NES, and eventually you're probably going to see some Retron 5 versus the AVS system stuff. But I'm working with what I got. I hope that's okay. If you don't like it, thumbs down the thing. Leave a mean, nasty comment. I couldn't give two shits, in all honesty. I'm just doing this to show what I know and what I can do. So hopefully you appreciate it, because it's time out of my day, out of my week, out of my weekend doing this, out of the goodness of my heart. And if that pisses you off, too damn bad. That's all I got to say, folks. Thanks for watching.